The national parks are an American pastime. Everyone has heard of and seen pictures of the Grand Canyon, Old Faithful at Yellowstone, the lakes and mountains of Yosemite and the Rockies. These are the vacation destination of millions of tourists every year. CNN reported that a record-breaking 292.8 million visits were made to the national parks in 2014 alone, and that record is expected to be broken again next year when the National Park Service celebrates its centennial year. One major proponent that has led to the preservation and establishment of many national parks is the work of famous American landscape photographer Ansel Adams. Ansel Adams was born on February 20th of 1902 to a wealthy San Francisco family as an only child. Growing up, he was observed to be very intelligent and bright, but his shyness was not well suited to the classroom setting. He was tutored at home by his father and aunt, where he developed a love for music and piano. It was thought that he would become a concert pianist. Even though his career took him on a path as a photographer, he still had his love for music and often compared music and photography as a way of describing each other.
Perhaps music is the most expressive of the arts. However, as a photographer, I believe that creative photography,
At the age of 14, he developed a grave sickness, causing him to spend much of his time recuperating in bed, reading. After having read In the Heart of the Sierras by James Mason Hutchins, a book outlining the Yosemite Valley, he convinced his parents to spend the family summer vacation there. He was immediately enthralled with the park, and the symptoms of his sickness promptly stopped. He would then after return every year, spending his summers documenting the park on his handheld Kodak Brownie camera. This was the beginning of his love of the outdoors and his love for photography. When staying in the park, he would lodge with a family in their house in the valley. They would give him a place to sleep and practice piano. This is where he met his future wife, Virginia Best. As he grew older, he began spending more and more of his time in the park until he eventually stayed there year-round. The Sierra Club was a large force in Ansel Adams' work with the national parks. He started his relationship with the Sierra Club when he found a job as their janitor. This allowed him to spend more of his time and resources on photographing. Even so, he still wrote many letters home containing photographs, asking for money so he could still continue with his art, because film and developing was expensive.
Item: 1 4x5 view camera, 6 lenses, 12-inch collinear, 8.5-inch apolentha, 9.25-inch apotessa, 4-inch wide field actor, Dallmeyer Adon telephoto. Item: 1 Hasselblad.
As a member of the Sierra Club, he went on many of their expeditions as their trip photographer. Receiving more acclaim for his work, he grew more involved in the protection of national parks, and was elected to the Sierra Club Board of Directors in 1934, where he served for the next 37 years. He spent much of his time lobbying Congress regarding the creation of parks, such as Kings Canyon. His photographs of Kings Canyon influenced Franklin Roosevelt to embrace the turning of it into a national park, which was signed into legislation in 1940. When creating his photographs, he would think through the chemical and mechanical process that happens with film, and pre-visualize what he wanted the final product to look like. When taking the famous photograph Monolith Face of the Half Dome in Yosemite, he purposefully used a red filter because he knew it would render the cliff face and sky darker than it appeared in reality. giving a more dramatic, emotional result. He received critical acclaim for this photograph in 1927. This was a significant moment in his career as a photographer because it was the first time he stepped through that creative process of pre-visualization, a technique he is known for. Working as a photographer and an artist, it was often difficult for Adams to come by money, especially in the midst of the Great Depression. Therefore, he took many commercial advertising jobs to help alleviate financial stress. While he did not like work as a commercial photographer, he tolerated it because in the end, it actually brought his images of the natural world to a wider audience. This in turn he hoped would cause more people to enjoy the wilderness and contribute to its preservation. After all, he did not want to block off human interaction with the natural world, but rather he wanted everyone to be able to experience the outdoors in its natural beauty. Ansel Adams did not stop with photographs when it came to his advocacy for the wilderness. He was very vocal on issues regarding natural resources, both as the director of the Sierra Club and as an unaffiliated individual. He would write many letters and speak to members of the government and the Park Service, developing relationships with them. He frequently had correspondence with Jimmy Carter and had sold photographic prints to the Secretary of the Interior. It is not only his work as a photographer that is important in the preservation of the wilderness, but his active maintenance of relationships with officials and the public. If he had only been a vocal activist or a natural photographer, his influence would probably be negligent, but the coupling of the two had a powerful influence that would probably not have been possible otherwise. Even today, Ansel Adams' influence can be seen. His photographs can still be seen and purchased, and many contemporary photographers try to mimic his style. Last year, a bill known as the Ansel Adams Act was proposed in Congress to protect the right of photographers in national parks, citing Ansel Adams' photographs as building public awareness about America's natural resources and increasing public support in making Yosemite a national park. Future Ansel Adams should also have that same opportunity he had to interpret and share America's landscapes through photography.